the basic requirement you need to satisfy for effective cross-functional relationships is to instill trust in them that you have the right intent, number one. Number two, to demonstrate to them over time that you have the competence. And number three, to reassure them that you have empathy for their role and for what they are trying to do and for their responsibilities in the organization, which will be sometimes very different from yours. This is the formula for highly effective cross-functional relationships. And the third one, to demonstrate empathy for their role, is actually the first one I put into practice when I'm starting a relationship. Say somebody in legal, somebody in biz dev, somebody in some other function, because that one's the easiest to do and doesn't require a lot of shared context. The other two will take a little bit of time, but the third one is the easiest. And the way I do that is I do two things. So usually here's what happens in most companies. Say a new cross-functional counterpart that's crucial got assigned, or you've joined a new team. So now you're meeting all these cross-functional people in support, in sales, in marketing, in 50 other places as a PM. So usually you'll do a one-on-one with them at some point, meet and greet, hey, how are you, blah, blah, all that stuff. For my first conversation, my goal is to help them see that I have worked effectively with others in their role before. And second is to express a high degree of curiosity and openness to understanding their particular role. You don't do the first one by saying, yeah, I've worked with 50 product marketing managers before, and here's a list of people I've worked with. It's not that. Usually in these one-on-ones, you start with, oh, what's your background? Where did you go? How long have you been at the company? Blah, blah, all of that stuff. So in the process of sharing my background, I will tailor it. Let's take a concrete example. Say I'm meeting a new product counsel, legal counterpart on the team. I'll share my background and I'll share, oh, when I was at Google, I was working on some of the core business there in AdWords. So I dealt with a lot of folks in legal, and I'll share an anecdote. This is all true. I'm not making shit up. Don't make shit up, obviously. But each of us has such stories. I share with them, like when I was at Google, I was slightly new as a PM. This was many years ago. And one of the things, one of my P-Council counterparts shared with me that stuck with me is that I used to keep going to him for, hey, do you approve this? Do you approve that? And at some point he stopped me and he said, no, don't use the term approve. So I said, why? Don't we need legal approval? And they shared with me that actually we are here for advice, not for approval. Ultimately, the decision rests with you and the business side. We are here to advise you on risks. Now, of course, if you're going to do something illegal, we will let you know and we will get in the way of that, obviously. But 99.99% of the things we do, they're not like black or white kind of situation. It's about risk and managing risk and making trade-offs. I won't do it in every conversation with every legal counterpart, but if the situation is right, I'll share this story that this was 10 years ago, but this really changed my perspective on the legal role. And then I do the second part of what I said, which is, what do you think about this? How does legal work here? Say I'm just joining a company. I'm new to the company. And now I have this legal counterpart. I'll ask them, is this aligned with the philosophy here, or is there a different philosophy? Because I'd love to understand it. So what have I done with just 2-3 minute exchange with this new person I've met? I've conveyed to them that, oh yeah, I've had some strong relationships with folks in their profession because they felt open enough and comfortable enough to tell me. And I have also conveyed to them that I'm open-minded about this stuff and I'm curious about what their role is. So all of this is conveyed in the process of a regular conversation that two human beings are having. And it is not performative because I'm genuinely curious how legal works and how this person thinks about their job. At the same time, it conveys a lot of context that for some people, it takes months to build. When I end this meeting, this person's already thinking, oh, I'm glad this PM got hired. I'm glad Shreyas got hired as the PM because he gets it. That's usually the effect I will have on the person based on my conversation with them. I already mentioned all of this needs to be genuine. So let's put that aside. The true tactics is you need to prepare for these conversations. You need to think through. Don't just walk into the Zoom or the room with, oh, hello. Just think. Take 5 minutes to think. What do you want to say? One simple framework is for every meeting, there are two purposes, which is there's the capital P purpose, which is the reason why you set up the meeting, whatever goal you want to achieve as a result of that meeting. Then there's the lowercase p purpose, which is what do you want the person or the persons to feel? How do you want them to feel? How do you want them to feel about the team? How do you want them to feel about their situation? How do you want them to feel about you? Actually, most people, especially the really ambitious, kind of efficient folks, and by the way, I was this for many years, they just fixate on the capital P purpose. They're all business. Let's get this stuff done. If you have that attitude, you're going to approach this meeting very differently, where you're just going to focus on all the analytical stuff. Oh, so what do you do? How do we interact? What is the process? How often should we send you stuff? What are the objective criteria when we should involve legal versus not? A lot of people have these types of conversations. You're not going to satisfy the lowercase p purpose with this kind of attitude. And by the way, I'm highly introverted. Most introverts I know don't like to spend time on, oh, what do you do over the weekend and how many pets do you have? Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying I don't like spending that much time on those types of topics. When I say lowercase p purpose, you don't have to just spend time on small talkish stuff. Again, if that's how you make connection with people, that's fine. Again, nothing wrong with it. But all I'm saying is, even if you are like me and you don't want to spend time on that much of this other stuff, you can still achieve that lowercase p purpose, which makes the person feel good. Oh, I now have a partner that I'm excited about working with. So just remember that approach as you are starting the relationship, because once they understand that you understand their role and you have empathy for their role, things become so much easier, because when you have a situation of conflict, you can keep referring back to the conversation you had, which is, okay, I understand where you're coming from, because I know that you mentioned that this topic is very important for legal. And that's a much better way, because most of the times your cross-functional counterparts, they're just concerned that you don't get it. Either that you don't get it or you don't care. Those are the two concerns they have. So you can eliminate those.